ZZZ has so far been feeding us full. Besides eating up Pyrosis Bussy, I'm also eating up the illustrations they produce. I think most of us can agree that every time ZZZ drops a new patch, the cover art is immaculate. But not just that, even the chapter cover tapes, movie posters, and events are not easy to miss by how great they look. And yet, I don't really see many people actually talking about the art itself. Of course, people praise it, saying ZZZ cooked again, and then everyone moves on. But I feel like these illustrations deserve way more attention than just a quick compliment, because behind every human art, there is a story untold. So giving that recognition is a way for me to appreciate the creative process the artists have gone through. Bear in mind, I am no art connoisseur, and I don't speak for everyone, so these are just my opinions as an average art consumer. At the end of the day, anyone here is free to interpret art however they want. The end goal of this video is to bring more in-depth discussion and appreciation about ZZZ illustrations. But before I go any further, I'd like to thank my kittens. This topic received several votes last time, so I decided to proceed with it. Much love for the support you guys give me, whether you're a member or even just being here. Now, let us get started. In general, for most massive games, there is a strict style guide. Every piece of promotional art must use the same line thickness, the same lighting style, and the same clean finish so the brand stays uniform. I get it, consistency matters. It's a way for people to recognize the game immediately, but the cost is making all the pieces look more like corporate marketing. They look polished, nice, and clean. I don't say I hate them or they're bad in general, but there is a missing essence to it. In contrast, ZZZ tosses that rulebook, especially when it comes to cover art. There is still consistency, but it comes from their world building. Instead of making all illustrations look uniform to the real world brand, the art team makes it feel like it was created by different artists living inside the game itself. And that's why ZZZ art drops look more like high-tier passion projects or official fan art. And sometimes people don't even believe me when I say it's officially from the game and not just a random fan art from Twitter. While ZZZ also makes promotional art that shows characters in epic and powerful combat stance related to the story, the rest focuses heavily on the characters' inner life and mood. They like to capture characters in quiet and mundane moments, and sometimes in very unconventional settings. And this is what makes them feel more like actual people living their own lives. I'm not going to go through every single illustration because there are so many, but I will share my favorite ones based on their type. The latest one for 3.0 as of now has got to be in my top 5. As a Phaethon fan, I'm going to be a bit biased because most of the cover arts I like usually will have them in it. And I think the reason I like this one so much is because it's one of the promotional artworks that puts both of them at the center. We got other characters as well who are going to be relevant in the story, but in this one, the main focus is them. Usually if the art does have the siblings with other characters, they're mostly blended with them as well. From this artwork alone, and then combining every teaser we've seen so far, I think we can make a strong guess that the story is going to focus on their development, especially with the awakening of Pyrois. I am a very big fan of the colors used here, not just because they look pretty and dreamy, but because blue and yellow tones are often used to represent Phaethon. At first glance, the look and feel of this art is very serene and tender, which I notice also happens to be a common theme in a lot of artworks depicting the fall of Phaethon in Greek mythology, and I really love that. But that also implies that this scene, although it looks peaceful, the story behind it might not be as beautiful as it looks. And here, with the elements of them floating in the sky with artificial wings, I believe made from helium balloons, probably signifying some Icarus imagery as well. There's a possibility that it might just pop. Maybe they're going to fall again in this chapter. Who knows? But we've seen some snippets of it in the trailer. And this is also what I like about ZZZ. They never miss the small details. The clouds are actually bamboo shaped, which is adorable and is heavily referencing the floating island where most bamboos live. I could talk about this art so much more, like Wise's cunty waist and childbearing hips, or Belle's cute little face, but I think we need to move on to the next one. This one made my jaw drop because around this time I had just started playing ZZZ, and it was hard to believe this was the story quest cover art because what? What do you mean Section 6 and the siblings are wearing gothic outfits? Wise looks so good, and Harumasa in a slutty tank top with chains. ZZZ is truly a gooner game because I am gooning to this, but honestly it was a culture shock because before this I was still getting used to ZZZ's urban street style aesthetic, but looking at this art again, the tone and overall look perfectly reflect the energy of the season 1 finale. The edgy outfits, red lighting, and this dark interior gives the illustration this dangerous elegance and cold confidence. Nobody is in a combat stance. They're just lounging, sipping wine and looking down at the viewer with an effortless, untouchable power. In this dark atmosphere, you can tell the characters are the ones controlling the room. I chose this one because Wise and Belle look good here, but also look at Ye Shiyun and Zhao. No one could have guessed this cute bunny slays people. And of course, the main star of the show, Xiaoguang, and Shadow Xiaoguang. But instead of putting her physically there with the other characters, she is being put in the background, towering over them. Her presence here depicts more of like visual memories or two massive opposing forces looming over the cast. Even though the characters are clustered together, there's a heavy sense of internal isolation. Like everyone is carrying their own heavy burden into this chapter. And it feels like a story where everyone is trying to keep moving, even though almost everyone here looks emotionally constipated. The only small difference is Zhao, looking upwards as if she's already found a new revelation, mirroring her character development in the story. And I love the two parallel sibling dynamics secretly portrayed here. On one side, you have the proxy siblings. As the world fractures behind them, Wise breaks away from the chaos to look directly back at Belle, showing a protective brotherly bond. But then you have Ye Shiyuan. He is looking down somberly, slightly cut off from the others in this frame as if carrying a burden on his own. The composition captures his relation with Xiaoguang really well. Someone unable to protect Xiaoguang from a close distance or help her directly. Now, this art is so special to me because, like a Hugo, I've analyzed this one before because I was just that crazy about them. I mean, who wasn't? First off, the overall theme looks like a typical teenage punk rebellion. It feels like a nostalgic look back at a secret hideout from Hugo and Lycon's younger Phantom Thief days. And I find it very interesting how Lycon is portrayed with his back facing the scene, almost like he is already looking away. It does shows like a visual reference to him leaving Mockingbird behind. Meanwhile, Hugo is sitting comfortably where he is, but his gaze is locked on Lycon. He doesn't look like he wants to stop him, but he also doesn't look completely indifferent. There is a sense of underlying curiosity and a clear reluctance to let his partner walk away. So at first look, this scene may feel like a casual hangout, but the details give off a moment where one person already chosen to leave and move forward while the other is still processing it. And you can see so many other tiny details like these glasses that that sort of hint Hugo's past memories, and this coffin that hints his death, and the candies for his hypoglycemia, and Vivian probably casting love spells on Phaethon. This one is one of my favorites because it's quite different than most cover art. It's more soft and pastel, and definitely not because Wise is in a cute fit with Pearls. The story does get darker, but that's why I find the dreamy and light colors interesting. They actually fit the chapter's theme really well because the whole story revolves around sweet but dangerous illusions, from the miasma to the exaltus, tricking people with fake medicine that induces hallucinations until they get corrupted. Another thing I want to point out is the bright sun and the eclipse. In this context, the sun can represent clarity, truth, and reality being brought to light. In such a dreamy scene, it almost feels like a symbol of waking up and finally seeing things clearly. But the eclipse sort of interrupts that. It usually suggests hidden agendas, manipulation, and secrets covering the truth. So having both in the same artworks creates a strong tension between the beautiful facade and the hidden threat underneath. Anyways, I also just noticed that Shuyuan is in a couple of cover arts, and yet he's the only one that is still not playable. And even Phaethon is playable now. Oh my god, I don't know how you Shuyuan fans are coping. To be fair, I am a Damien truther, but I know his future isn't bright because he's not represented in any major promotional art, but they did Shuyuan so dirty. But don't worry, that means there's still hope, guys, and I believe that day will come soon. Last but not least, Astra Yao's chapter. Can we be for real right now? Because holy Uris. And I swear to god, in my drafts, I have about 3 pages of me analyzing Astra and Evelyn both as an individual and their relationship dynamics. I don't know when it will see the light of day, to be honest, but back to this art. The grand stage lighting and dramatic poses give the illustration this glamorous energy. Astra Yao looking graceful but completely composed captures the feeling of a songstress carrying the city's hope. Right next to her we have Evelyn standing with vigilance, reflecting that sharp and protective bodyguard presence. It's such a genius idea to convey the illustration as a play in a stage theater because it kind of happened in the story. While Astra's concert was being sabotaged behind the scenes, they still managed to cover everything up by making it look like part of the show and save the audience. Chapter tape covers are one of the unique visual details ZZZ has for every main story quest. Some of them use the same artwork as the promotional cover, so there is going to be some overlap, but certain chapters also have their own separate tape covers. On brand with the film concept, they act like little story posters, giving each chapter its own identity. Besides from the main chapters, I really love the interlude chapters as well. Of course, the Agent story cover art were the ones I used to anticipate a lot because yeah, I get to see more of my faves in a different art style. Event posters are also worth mentioning. This is where ZZZ gets to experiment with even more different art styles. There are way too many of these to cover individually, but just looking at them together shows you the sheer variance in their visual identity. You wouldn't even recognize some of these are actually from ZZZ. But ZZZ doesn't stop at the illustrations we see in menus or event pages. One thing I really love is how they also bring that art direction into New Eridu itself. And this is such a small detail, but it adds so much. Usually, when games put posters or ads in the background, they tend to look generic enough to blend into the environment. But in ZZZ, the posters are not just there to fill up empty walls. A lot of them feel carefully designed with their own visual identity and genre references, making them look like legitimate future films you'd want to watch or bands and artists you really want to listen to. And they even made pages for some of these fictional movies with summaries and audience comments, which makes them feel even more real. This is like a subtle yet effective way of storytelling that's not too intrusive. They managed to turn these graphics from just background elements into some sort of interactive lore. For example, it's one thing for a character you like to briefly mention a movie title in dialogue, but it's another thing when you can actually look it up, read the reviews, and understand the exact type of the media they're talking about. So it doesn't feel like you're really missing out. And for someone who enjoys world building through small environmental details, I really appreciate this level of care. I know these small things easily get overlooked, but it just shows how strong ZZZ's identity is in its visuals and storytelling. Of course, there are some departments they may be lacking, but hopefully speaking about what makes this stuff work so well can help them see what really matters so they can apply that same energy to other aspects of the game. And I do wish other games realize this too, instead of plastering soulless non-human art just to make the environment look full. Anyways, season 3 is coming up soon, so of course there's going to be more juicy illustrations, and I am personally excited to explore Rose Califer and see what more hidden gems I can find. I hope you guys enjoyed today's Chili app. I did go through some mini analysis in the beginning, but honestly, I mostly wanted to reminisce about the illustrations we've had so far before we step into a new chapter. ZZZ has given us so much beautiful art already, and I think it's nice to slow down once in a while how much personality this game has visually. That is all, and I will see you guys in the next one. Goodbye!